Hello, and thanks for joining us on the podcast that discusses all things gaming. Coming to you from the home of Gen Con and the gaming capital of the world, this is The Established Facts. Welcome, everybody, to episode 100. Yay. If we had as many episodes as we had years, we would be 100 years old.
Maths.
Thank you, Drew Carey.
I said it backwards, but it doesn't matter. I rewound it for you. So,
I like it better back.
welcome to episode 100 of The Established Facts. As you can tell, we're a little bit silly right now. We are coming off of Day
Drugs.
2.
What?
We are
Okay, maybe not drugs.
just finishing Day 2 of Indie PopCon 2015. About half of us are, getting ready to fall over, and the other half are pretty hyped up for some fun evening events. I believe Lance is talking about going to Rocky Horror.
Yep.
So if you have never experienced that, make sure you find some place to,
I think it'd be a little late to do it tonight.
Well, yeah, I don't mean tonight. I mean, obviously, not tonight.
But I do know a cast in Indianapolis, so if you want to get a hold of
That's
going
right.
to a cast, find me on Facebook at Quinn Harley, QUINNHARLE, and I'd be happy to hook you up with a show.
There you go. So, for episode 100, we were trying to figure out, what do we want to do for a versus topic? What do we want to do for a discussion topic? And Lance brought up a very great idea about...
Stop pushing his ego.
Shush.
It's already filled the room.
He's a
Okay.
sensitive man.
All right.
Just leave it alone. The idea he came up with was about half of us have been here since episode 1, and our roles have changed ever so slightly throughout the last 4 years. We're getting ready to start year 5 in July.
Except for Josh.
Josh's hasn't changed at all. It's just become more and more
He's the
intense
button
and
pusher, except
aggravating.
for today.
That's right. So what we would like to do is kind of talk about our past, present, and future. And so I think to kind of open up the discussion on our past, it would be appropriate for us to introduce everyone at the episode. So, starting with my left, let's go around the table and introduce who you are.
I'm Avital.
This is Josh.
This is Bonnie.
Hey guys, this is Derek.
I'm Lance, also known as Quinn Harley.
I'm Prime. And of course, this is Big Don, your host.
Yay!
Yay!
Yay.
So, year 1.
If you're excited, raise your hand.
Oh,
It's radio, they can't see it.
Year 1, episode 1. I remember sitting in Josh Demaree's apartment with microphones around the room, and literally all of us looking at each other and going, "What in God's name are we doing?" Like not like, what are we doing? As in, why did we decide to do this? But literally, what are we doing? Like, what are we going to talk about? How are we going to format this show?
Where are we going to sit?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you laughed. We were sitting in the couches like at booth
Oh, it
stands.
was crazy,
It was
yeah.
hilarious.
And I don't remember. I probably could have done some research before this, but who cares? We hadn't done it in the last 99 episodes. Why do it now?
Hey, we prepped for the series on the alignments.
We did.
We did.
We did.
That was
And the
a
classes.
good
That's going to
series.
come in
We did.
handy.
Especially
Yeah,
for
someone-
me
So-
as a beginning.
And that, I believe, started at episode 5 and went to episode 13. And
Which
so
I still download and listen to when I go on long road trips.
Yeah.
Those particular
they're
episodes.
those are really fun. Those are probably out of the last 4 years, those are probably the some of the standout, especially for our early stuff. We've done a lot of great episodes, but for that only being our 5th through our 13th episode, those were really, really fun, really great content episodes.
And everything beyond after that was just pure crap.
I'm just saying. We hit
You joined the show?
Yeah, we hit the top of the mountain early and then literally just tumbled all the way down to the valley.
And I gotta say, as a relatively new gamer, those are so helpful for somebody that is like never done like tabletop Pathfinder.
Until recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've
They're
already
genuinely
established
helpful.
that you're no longer a newbie.
No, I said as a relatively new gamer,
Yeah.
and when I was listening to them when I was a very new gamer,
Yeah.
they were quite
Avital
helpful.
is no longer the future.
Oh.
You're the present. That's okay.
She's
So-
got a bow on
the
and
weirdest
everything.
statement.
So,
Sorry.
Derek, Josh,
Yeah.
what are some of what are some of your, I guess, fondest memories of the first few years? Because I think Josh Prime is the oldest new guy,
Yeah.
and he's been recording with us for 8 months, close to a year.
Yeah.
So I mean
It's over
that's
a year.
so about 3 years of recording for just the three of us
Yeah.
together with people coming in and out. Obviously, there are people that are not here that are still. I mean, Dr. Deb, Jeremy, Anton. They're just not here with us. We're at Indie PopCon, so obviously they've got a lot of fond memories, and we'll make
out
sure.
for you.
That's right, and one for my homies. So we'll definitely get their remarks and their comments. We'll make sure that they get posted for everybody to kind of say, "What are you, Lance? Stop it!
Pouring some out for her.
Pouring out for our homies." So, so yeah, Josh, Derek, what are some of your fondest memories or favorite parts about the first, let's say 2 or 3 years?
I've got one.
Go.
So, I think it was the first Gen Con after my wife and I moved into our new house. Part of our whole, building process was we were making sure that we'd have a game room that would house the war game and be able to handle the podcast. However, when you first move into a house, things are never in their location when they need to be. And sometimes they just got to get moved around because you want to be somewhere else in the room for whatever reason. I remember coming home after a Gen Con and being like, I kind of want to sit on the couches to record because we were just exhausted because it was the second year. People kind of knew who we were, but not really. So we were really hitting up booths a lot. Like we did it well the first year, but that second year was really a big deal. So we actually brought all of the podcast equipment into the living room and set up old school. Had the boom stands, had the microphones in everybody's face, and everybody was just super chill.
I liked that. I don't know why, but I like the boom stand that was
It's
there.
really neat. It's just really hard to
Stay awake.
Yes. Especially once you see the new couch we just got.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's over. But the idea that after a year we had already gotten to a point, a year and a half, that we could do something retro as a podcast.
Right, yeah.
Because we were just constantly evolving and trying out new things. The biggest thing being the premise of putting a header and footer on the show. I remember going through that and choosing the Tron Legacy, the grid music.
Yeah,
and, We Love You, Daft Punk, Don't Sue Us. And
There was that.
You have to make money for them to be able to sue you.
I know. But we also don't have an LLC at the moment, so we got to be ready for that eventually. But that's the next evolution.
The LLC, not the getting sued by Daft Punk.
No, please don't. But yeah, the whole premise of us doing the We Love You, Don't Sue Us, because we were stealing everything. We were stealing songs and the CBS Sports theme song and Mario's theme song. Oh, it was during a tournament. It was the perfect thing because it was March Madness. So, but. We then were able to pull in somebody like Mikey Mason and be like, hey, we want you to make a header and footer for us as our theme song. And he decided to pull something out of the mothballs and give it to us. And Fear the Boot gave us Forum. And we had to shut down our group on Facebook because we were afraid that there was going to be too many people joining it, which was funny because we could do up to like 5,000 people. But we went ahead and switched to a page anyways just to be safe.
I think it's better anyways.
It is, but those things over time, it's been 4 years, and we've transitioned into a relatively well-oiled machine, even if we are exhausted during a convention. And I really appreciate that.
I mean, that is just the coincidental, effect of being at a con. It's just you're just tired.
It's
Pretty much.
people really don't understand how much work it is to sit in a booth.
And talk to people
Especially for introverts, right?
was gonna
Derek?
Yeah, no
Amen.
doubt.
We know that feels so does
Especially
Bonnie.
for-
And I
I mean,
wasn't even
even-
hardly there today with you
Yep.
guys, but
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is really tiring, and I've only been here like 30 minutes.
even for like Josh and I and my brother Prime, we're extreme extroverts, and at the end of the day, you're like, wow, that was really fun. Like you're still jacked up. Like I still want to hang out and talk to people and stuff like that. But if I move from this chair, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to fall out and pass out in the main aisle. You're just physically tired from, getting up and talking to people and then sitting back down and moving around and going and doing podcasts and interviews. But it's all just icing on the cake, really, at this point for us. Like it's just fun. Like that's why we're here and that's what we love to do.
I will second what Josh said as far as the memory is concerned, but I'm going to go for a little bit different.
Okay.
I liked the post Gen Con wrap up, especially when we talked with Carrie for the first time.
Oh yeah,
I remember
I
that.
think that was year.
Listening
Was
to
that
That's the second.
was that
It was
three?
second year.
Second year?
Yeah.
It was
Was her
really
first Gen
great.
Con. That was her first Gen
That was her first Gen Con. It was just interesting to hear what her reaction was to going for the first time. I thought it was a very good episode. So.
I would have to say, overall, I think obviously every episode is a little bit different. We try and keep the same or similar format. There are some episodes where we kind of break that mold, like this one. But really, I can remember probably my fondest memory of the podcast was really determining what we were going to be a podcast about, what we were going to do. For a
That's
long.
evolved.
Well, it has. But I can remember before we ever even hit record for the first time, sitting around and just we had always talked about we'd always hung out and talked about gaming and the kind of the environment that we all enjoy playing with and different elements of the game world and things like that. And then we just decided to turn it into what the Established Facts has become. And obviously we have changed from our beginning raw state to what we are now.
True.
But I think that we've really kept that heart and that spirit of what we originally wanted. With just being able to be, a group of friends sitting around a table discussing things that we're passionate about in a hobby that we're also passionate about. I remember probably one of my fondest memories was when Josh called me on the phone and he goes, "So, I know you really love him, and he's really one of the only authors in general, much less fantasy authors, that I read, but he psyched me out and he goes, hey, we got an interview with Bob Salvatore." And I, went total fangirl because he's one of my favorite authors, and to a lot of people he may not be a big celebrity or anything. You may not hear a bunch about him in the news or something like that, but to me, and I think that's what we've all really enjoyed in general, whether we're new or old, is just finding those times when it's like, man, I still remember when this happened for me on the podcast, and it meant so much to me, and that meant so much to me.
Interview.
Getting together with Tracy Hickman the Wednesday night before Gen Con every year is still just a gem of an episode. It's still so special because through that relationship, he really has become, he and his whole family have really become friends. Yeah. And our friendships have really matured through our relationship on the mics and our relationship with other podcasters. We would not have a relationship with Fear the Boot and Kicked in the Dice Bags like we do had we not been podcasters and had been able to share that same kind of experience, you know.
I mean, out of the entire podcast, I don't know if you, Josh, were listening to them before we started.
Nope.
But, I mean, it was just me that had any contact with Fear the Boot
Yeah.
at that point. And so the podcast definitely, especially with like Fear the Con, where we would go to the podcaster.
Like the roundtable thing.
Roundtable.
Yeah, the Thursday night of wing night stuff.
Well, that, but there was also the podcaster roundtable.
Oh, yeah,
during the
on
con.
Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, those really help solidify us with other podcasts
Yeah.
in the non-network network.
That's right.
We definitely grew closer because of, well, I have to say it's because of Fear of the Con is that we grew.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, definitely with those relationships. I mean, there's other relationships that we have with other people through other cons
Okay.
and other experiences, but that is definitely, you know, a huge part of our podcast would not exist had it not been for the relationships that we have with those people. And, you know, kind of transitioning from what we remember in the past to kind of our present state, one thing that was really encouraging this year was, you know, we talked to a couple friends and fellow podcasters at Fear the Con a few weeks ago, and they literally said, you know, one of the biggest reasons that they decided to just, you know, pull the trigger and come to Fear the Con was because they knew we were going to be there, and we're friends, and
Because of us?
yeah, like legitimately.
Aw.
Wow.
And because they knew that the indie crew is what they call us a lot of times. They knew that the indie crew and that the Established Facts was going to be there. And I mean, you know, we're not super celebrities in anybody else's mind besides ourselves, but that feels good. You know, I still remember, you know, a year or so ago going to a local convention where there was there's an organization called Hoosier Gamers, and they run a small free convention for charity called Hoosier Con. And they had a game hall at one of the conventions, and I happened to walk in, and I was talking to one of the guys, and he goes, "I know your voice. I know you from somewhere." And I was like, "Oh yeah?" And he goes, "Oh, I know you from the Established Facts." I had never met this guy before in my life, and it was the coolest
I remember
thing. It was the coolest. I was like, "Holy cow! This is somebody who has listened to us before," and it was just so surreal. Like.
Did you ask him if the face matched the voice?
I did not. No.
Because that was the biggest thing when I first went to Fear the Con and met the Fear the Boot guys.
Yeah.
Was your voice does not match.
I agree with that. When I started listening to the show, and I started listening on your anniversary episode, your pre-Gen Con year 2. I thought Derek was this wise old man with white hair that had been gaming since the 80s.
Yeah, right.
Because he had that deep voice. He'd done Living Greyhawk, so he had that authority to him. And I'd met almost everybody else that was on the podcast. Now I realize that I'm the great white little guy.
Yeah. Oh, there is that. So, so the rest of the podcast, you know, we are. You know, we're still together. We're still pumping out episodes and really having a good time for it. But for those of you who have only recently come on the show within the last year or so, what are some of your memories of a lot of the present stuff that you really appreciate and enjoy?
Well, first of all, I mean, I'm friends with this group of people, which is why I have contact with us in the first place. And I remember listening to some of the episodes, like Gen Con 3 years ago was my first Gen Con, and where I had my first role-playing game. And I remember listening to an episode of The Established Facts, and Josh mentioned me that it had been my first role-playing game, and then that I had come and played a game of Pathfinder, and then I was going to be in the campaign that Don was starting up, and I'm like, they talked about me, oh my gosh. Yeah, and I actually remember last year at Indie PopCon was the first time I was ever on the mics because I like volunteered to help out with the table, and me and Micah were sitting there, and Josh was like, "I got mics. We're gonna talk about what you think about the con so far," and me and Micah were like, "Okay." And that was my first time being on the mics at all, and then just a couple random things after that. At Gen Con last year, I was on a couple episodes with Tracy Hickman, and then after the Gen Con episode, and then how long has it been just this year? Not super long.
No, I think it was
February, March.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
After the first of the year.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, we're podcasting, you should come. And then like after that recording, they're like, it'd be great.
So now you're on the show.
If you could just be on the show now. And I'm like, okay, that's super awesome.
Yep.
And I did go to Fear the Con last year when I wasn't on the show, even though like I knew absolutely nothing about any of the podcasts, like Fear the Boot or Kicking the Dice Bags or anything. I just knew that they're like, this is a great thing. You should go. And I'm like, okay.
She's highly susceptible to the things we tell her. And it's
I
strange.
know, it's awesome.
True.
What?
We can make her do
We've
so
taken
many
advantage of
things.
that a little bit too much.
Oh,
though.
yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, no.
And next year, there will be a convention in Missouri
Yes.
called
TrueCon.
An event.
Drew.
I know.
Drew.
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 DRU.
Yes.
Have you liked the Facebook page yet? I have.
You guys have a Facebook page?
Yes.
Yeah, Adam sent me out.
Adam
know
sent out the
that.
invitations.
Yeah. And
Oh, I
I'm
didn't
going to
get an
Facebook right now.
I didn't
then.
get an invite. That's no, I see how it is. I understand.
Oh.
yeah, especially since I'm one of the organizers.
Good job.
We can all agree that Derek is horrible at marketing.
Yes, I'm horrible at marketing. I actually am very horrible at marketing. So that's why I have like.
That's why you have friends like us.
Yay!
No footwork, all word of mouth.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
You're on the spot now, Bonnie.
Yeah.
I am.
Sorry, but
This is your second
So
recorded episode, I think.
I've done 2 round the tables at Fear the Con.
Have you?
And,
I forgot you were on last year's.
And then I did
Forgot.
an actual play. When we
Was
did
it USS?
we did a USS game.
Oh my gosh.
And
that
I had
game.
that really, really horrible Spanish accent
That was so
Ah,
much
that
fun.
I kept losing, like in and out, going in and out of it. But I mean, I remember when you guys started this, my job was to keep the babies quiet, and so. Which was
The
fine with
dingoes
me
are
because
here.
the
Keep
introvert in
them
me was
quiet.
like, something new that I don't know exactly. No, that's okay. I don't want to have a mic in front of me because I don't know, like, what you guys are going to talk about, and I wouldn't know what to say, and
right?
but I don't know how many times Don would come home all excited about the discussion that you had, and I'd be like, but this and this and this, and he's like, babe, you should have been there.
Right? It bled into a longer discussion at home a lot of times.
Yeah,
It was fun.
like at
That
this
is
point, the boys are older, and
Yeah.
as long as I keep,
Keep them entertained for an hour, they're
you know
good.
what I'm saying, then hopefully I'll be able to record with you guys more and more. I mean, I'm not going to be presumptuous enough to say that I have like a secured spot or anything like that because
Of course, you have
You know.
a secured spot whenever you're available. What are you talking about?
no, but I'm just saying like there's
Your spot is secure whether you're there or not.
right. No, I mean,
Lady.
so but
Says the Avital.
right.
Says the baby.
So
host.
Big Dong's sexy wife will
That's
be here more and more.
That's right.
And I'm looking forward to our upcoming episodes because I gotta be honest, I can't say that I've ever sat and listened to an episode of the Established Facts.
Neither have I.
Because
What?
either I'm in the room while you guys
have.
are
You make it
recording and I'm
face.
listening to it as it's happening,
That's true.
Or-
She's there when a lot of it's happening. And
or Don just tells me later like what you guys talked about, so I can't, So I don't have any past episodes that I was like in love with. I do remember though listening to the episode from the alignment series that Bill
the chaotic good.
that episode because Don told me that I would want to listen to that because he's like, I think you're going to disagree with what Bill has to say in this episode, and
Yeah.
you're going to get fired up about it. And I was like, really? And So then we had to have like a 3-hour conversation after I listened to the episode where I was like,
It was
rah,
good.
rah, rah.
It was good.
But I'm looking forward to upcoming episodes where we talk about the Myers-Briggs personalities and stuff, and being able to really dig into that because that's stuff I'm into.
Lance?
A lot like Bonnie. I have quite a few semi-favorite episodes. I dig the entire Alignment series. Like I said, I listen to those on long road trips.
Obviously, for those of you who are listening, if you haven't listened to the Alignment series,
Go listen to the Alignment series.
go listen to the Alignment series. Starts at episode 5.
I remember I was driving to my in-laws' house, and they lived in Kansas at the time, so it was a long drive. Just one after the other, arguing with the radio, because I had it plugged in at the time. Just, no, you've got that wrong. This is what the alignment system is like.
That's
But
right.
only because I've been gaming since the 80s. So I remember like how I was taught this, and there were other times I'm like, yes, you got it right on, and then there'd be times I'm
Sounds like
you
we
should,
need to revisit it.
You should have a call Lance section as soon as you get done with it, so I can tell you what you're right and wrong
We
about.
could totally do that. We could
But
totally do that.
Now I'm on the show, and I say things that are wrong sometimes, and I get called out on it. Like that. I messed up one of the Robins when we did the comic book series.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, duh!
You got called out too.
I got called out on Facebook on it. But I also like the chance that we get to do a trivia episode.
Yeah.
Because I've been listening to a lot of trivia.
I really want
podcasts
to do
at the time.
another episode like that.
I've got
That was
one.
so
I've got
much
one
fun.
coming. I've got one coming.
And I didn't get there until the very end of that episode, so.
I like a lot that we've. I think I bring a little bit of show prep to the show, as little
Yeah.
time as I get. So, like the relationships in gaming and the isms of gaming shows that really stand out to me as these could stand up against any radio show I've ever been on. And that come from a long radio history. So, those, I mean, not to toot my own horn because I don't do that, but I think the show has progressed to a podcast worthy of competing with other podcasts, not just a bunch of friends talking anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I remember when, before you started recording with us, but when you were kind of showing up and hanging out with us and things like that, you and I had only newly stepped into the host role because, I didn't start on the show as the host, but kind of transitioned into that position, and I love being able to do that. But it was really nice for me to be able to sit down with you, having radio experience and broadcasting experience and things like that, and just started asking me those questions of, when you're hosting, are you thinking about this, or are you kind of keeping an inventory of who wants to comment next, and making sure that you have certain notes, at least general notes as to what direction you want to go in. And I was like, no, I don't usually even have a piece of paper in front of me when I'm doing it. So I mean, I think that I think that's definitely a testament to how much we really are contributing to each other's success in this, as much as we are contributing to each other's fun in doing this kind of a hobby. So, Josh Prime, do you have any sort of present within the last year or so memories that you really appreciate from the podcast? Or you just want to fall asleep on the couch?
No.
You have to understand,
like a sleepy
everyone
panda.
in the room is sleeping. A lot of people are falling asleep.
Like a sleepy
As we
panda.
sit here.
It's kind of hard for me to decide, really, like, as far as a favorite
Okay.
podcast. I know that we've had a lot of guests come on that I've enjoyed. So.
We've had sort of like phases because our
We have.
first phase was us just sort of figuring ourselves out.
Yep.
Then we had like an interview phase where like almost every episode was an interview.
Yeah.
And then now I feel like more mature.
Yeah.
Yeah, except 1/4 of our year is spent at cons.
But I think that what we have figured out is that
We could fill so much time with short
Well,
interviews.
being able to make the most of the time, regardless how much or how little time we have to do these kind of things. And honestly, we had a very strong discussion with one of our podcasters on the show about basically he was not a big fan of how much content we were putting out that was just con coverage. Wanted to do more episodes like we had been doing for a long time, and not to say that he was wrong. I'm not even saying that I necessarily disagree with him, but it was interesting because I think a lot of the reason why we ended up getting into that was because, for a while there, we had some really big. Each one of us had some really big transitions in our lives, and it was easy content. We already had it. It was fun. It was good, and we were just putting it out there for consumerism's sake, if you will. And then obviously, eventually, we got back into recording and stuff. But I think that as you're a podcaster, and we've only been doing this for 4 years, but as we discussed, a couple years ago when Dan from Fear the Boot was on, a lot of podcasts, they hit that 18-month mark and then they fizzle out, or they don't even make it that far. And we've been doing this for 4 years. We're getting ready to start our 5th year, and it. And I don't necessarily see it ending anytime soon, which is exciting. So
well, and I think as far as we're concerned, what we do with the con, with certain con episodes or whatever, the people that we talk to, they rely on people like podcasts to help promote them.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not doing it just for us. We're doing it for them too,
And
because we want to support as many independent developers, in general as we can,
Lance?
And two, you talk about what you know, and if what you were doing at the beginning, you were talking about games and gaming because that's what you were doing. Now you guys go to more cons. It's what you're doing, so of course you're going to talk about it. So the more cons you go to, the more episodes are going to be con episodes.
Right.
It's just the way, it's the nature of the beast.
So, I think that, obviously one thing that we didn't know when we had started this podcast 4 years ago, that, obviously we still don't know, as time goes on, how the podcast is going to progress and how it's going to evolve and what's going to change and why. We have a lot of really cool discussion on things that we want to add to the content that we put out right now. But I just kind of want to go around the table and ask everyone, what do you see coming, or what would you see, or what would you like to see kind of mature from where we're at right now, let's say within the next 12 months, between the end of year 4 and the end of year 5. What are some of the things that you guys would like to see, Josh Prime?
Well, I was actually talking about this earlier today. I think what I'd like to see is from a more fan participation type thing of your guys' suggestions on, maybe topics that we could do to do episodes and stuff like that. I think that would be cool, So that's what I want to.
One thing that I just thought of, kind of something that you touched on a little bit, but as podcasters, we are constantly making new connections with other podcasters and with other industry people, and recently we have kind of grown in our relationship with another local gaming podcast called Crit Confirm Entertainment. And they are currently at Indie PopCon 2015, running their second Endless Dungeon. And what I think is amazing about that is the Endless Dungeon idea that they are running with is so cool to help raise money for charity. And I have to say, it's an idea that kind of spurred out of something that we had done, and specifically that Derek had run for us last year at Fear the Con. And what I love about that is just that, whether it be directly or indirectly, that corroboration between podcasts to say, hey, you guys did, because we did the exact same thing this year at PopCon. We're like, hey, Crit Confirmed did all this really awesome stuff last year at PopCon. Mm-hmm. They won't be in the exhibitor hall because they're doing the Endless Dungeon. Let's do as big of a thing as we can to kind of get people to check us out and talk about us, and then we'll push people towards their Endless Dungeon, and
Hashtag kill Josh.
Yeah, that's right. Hashtag kill Josh.
Hashtag for Aurora.
Hashtag for Aurora. For Aurora. For Aurora.
So, but I think that's just kind of a testament to what the nature of, in my opinion, what the nature of gaming podcasting is compared to other.
Derek, where did you get the idea to do that in the first place?
Honestly, it just came to me.
A pay-as-you-go dungeon.
It just came to me, and I just was like, I don't know what the genesis of it. It just...
That's cool.
Because I was like, I was thinking back, I was like, as a gamer, like in my early days, I remember doing all-night gaming. And I missed that, because I missed seeing the sun come up, and we are still going. And then I was like, you know what? How do I fit that in with like a charity event? And I was like, well, dungeon crawl's pretty easy. And then somehow that morphed into how do I mess with my players?
Which is probably good retribution considering how much we mess with you during the entire rest of the year.
Absolutely, you murder hobos.
Murder hobos.
Murder hobos.
So I wish there was some sort of like genesis story for this, but that was really how it evolved.
Well, that's cool. And I know one thing for you that you've talked about is, you coming out with this really cool idea, Crit Confirm Entertainment taking it and kind of making it a little bit bigger has raised the bar for you to say, hey, like, and you raised how much? I know they raised $1,800 at Indiana Comic Con.
Right.
That they raised your bar for the execution for our dungeon crawl that we did in slots 5 and 6 at Fear the Con.
Right.
And we ended up raising $3,200.
$3,260 is what it was.
$3,200, almost $3,300 in we were raising money throughout that time, but in an 8-hour slot, we were able to sit down and play a really fun game, and somehow in the end of it all, bribe the crap out of the GM and win the epic crazy battle against the Dark Lord of Denny's, turning him into the Light Lord of Denny's.
And then I took him over.
And then you took him over, and but then now they're trying to do a 3-day run on Endless Dungeon, and
That's good.
It's awesome. It's encouraging to see all of us still being able to use ideas from one another. And really run with that and show each other, hey, this was a really cool idea. If you add this element, it can be even better. And just going back and forth. So
I think that next year I'm going to go more along storyline. Mm-hmm. So because I'm an improv GM, it's going to be more how do you mess with people's stories and how do you mess with people's characters.
That'd be fun.
Instead of just like, okay, you're adding a monster to the dungeon, you're adding a trap or something like that. It's, okay, now you get to force a character to make a decision that they may not have otherwise made. So.
Very cool. I feel like that's going to require a lot of work on your part.
I'll help you.
Thank you.
He's got 10 months to stress about it and 2 months to actually get it done. So.
Exactly.
You didn't know wait till the night before.
Sounds like how I work. Oh my gosh.
So Avital, what are some of the things that you would like to see come of the established facts between 2015 and 2016?
Well, we had a discussion off mics about like content that we're putting out and stuff.
How much more conning that we do for you and you are a writer. How much more can we con of you to do more writing for us?
Yeah. And
well, I'm sure you didn't grow, so.
I can grow.
So you're making me write and produce content for the website.
And possibly this new newsletter that we're bringing.
And apparently the newsletter, because I'm the only writer in this group, Derek.
I know nothing what you say.
I know how to write.
Yeah, but
I can get it.
Hooked on Fun.
Josh has asked me to continue writing the story of my first ever RPG. because I started writing it, 3 years ago after the game. He was in it, and he was interested in that since. And I had started posting it on a blog, and he wants
Then
me.
it disappeared.
Yeah, I stopped after like 3 posts, but he has given me the task of doing that, which I have a post ready. But you said you wanted me to get set up so I could put it on the website, and you haven't. So that's
Yes,
not
we have.
on me.
I know.
Just saying.
You know what you could do as well? You could use the blog/story as a vehicle to start your own outlining for the game that you're going to eventually run for us.
Yay.
I need to finish this story before I work on.
Use the story as a transitional point to say this is what happened after this, and then find a good stopping point, and then from that stopping point start building a game that you would want to run for us.
And if we get out of line,
'Cause
you can
guess
just
what?
tell us we all fall in a pit trap and die.
I don't know if you know this or not, but from what I understand, some of the content throughout the Dragonlance series literally directly translated from
yes, I know.
a Dungeons and Dragons game.
I know.
So
I read the annotated version of
there you go.
The Dragon
the
Lance.
Dragonlance
That's
Chronicles.
so
So
So good.
yeah,
So-
I got all those little bits on
Set
the
it in the
side.
elf quest.
As the inspirer of the group, hey,
Yeah.
take this is the direction you want to go in, but have an end goal so that you can then transition into something new.
But yeah, so what I'm looking forward to for the podcast, and not just whatever content the Established Facts puts out as a group, is like the content that we've been talking about, like us doing more things maybe with some of the guys doing their Twitch streaming and other things that they're looking to get into. I think that's interesting because a lot of people are interested in stuff like that, and me working on the writing and getting the stories out there and stuff like that.
So
Mr. Demaree?
you sort of took my thought. I'm really looking forward to the point when somebody else does more work than I do. It's a joke.
Oh, that's good because we
Guess
didn't see it
that's-
as that.
Yeah.
You notice
That's why we're all
the
staring at
combined
you.
laughter in the room.
Yeah.
It was a bad joke. I didn't mean it in any negative tone. Yes, I did, but that's okay.
You wrote it off.
It's not really. Yes, I am.
I meant it from the
A hopeful standpoint.
there it is, standpoint. I meant it from the standpoint of I'm looking forward to other people generating content. We sit down, we record the podcast, I schedule it, I mix it, I upload
Edit.
it, post it, all that stuff. I'm really looking forward to more people giving me more content.
Sharing in the responsibility of content
Now,
for the podcast.
I'm getting the evil glare from Derek because I have received content from Derek and will acknowledge that.
Thank you. I feel better now.
Wow.
It was pretty funny, but
If that horse could be any higher.
What?
What content did he get from you?
Origins.
yeah, I've got still probably 7 interviews from Origins in the can.
Those
besides-
episodes that will be airing.
Yes.
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 He's in the future already.
I am.
so
I did do
much.
that.
Like I said earlier,
That's
the
almost-
awesome thing about podcasting is you control when stuff comes out.
True.
So-
As long as you don't refer in the past tense.
Right.
Or the future from the past. It's weird.
Right.
Wibbly
Hello,
wobbly.
future people.
But I mean, I've had this discussion
Timey-wimey, that's right.
with Teaspoon from Crit Confirm a couple of different times, and they are working on kind of focusing themselves into what they specialize in. Cody.
Cody. It's Cody.
Cody goes by Teaspoon.
Okay.
Yeah. That's because he likes tea. That's
Really?
all there is to it. I'm serious.
Spoons.
No, that's
but-
totally cool.
And he enjoys spooning.
Don't listen to this episode, Cody.
no.
Who has a
Listen
name
to
that
it.
has a T in
No,
it.
do
That's
do
right.
listen.
They're focusing on trying to kind of define their brand. I even had
We gave up on that a long time
Right.
ago.
they
We are
want,
that's why we say we're the podcast that discusses all things gaming, so that we don't have to have that.
Exactly. And you
But-
can have that quickly.
well,
That's right.
they are really seeking doing more of these charity events,
Yeah.
doing more of these Crit Happens events type things where they're Crit Happens
like
is the
that.
name of their podcast.
Yeah.
Crit Happens and D20 debut.
I love their D20 debut. I don't know how many
Really
times
good
I have
idea.
to say that, but I really dig it.
But they're working on their charity events. They're wanting to do the Endless Dungeon and make it a larger thing, even than what it is today. And which of course is then going to challenge the fear of the charity and make your work even more difficult.
No, because I'm actually probably going to be stepping back away from that a little bit.
Oh wow!
Exclusive.
Exclusive.
I know, exclusive. I have some pretty big things happening with Halagame Press and USS and stuff like that
Good.
I need to focus on. So the charity events, I mean, they've done an amazing job of just taking an idea and running with it. So they can. I'm excited to see where they go with this, and I'll still run the charity events at DrewCon, but beyond that, I think I'm just going to step back away from that for a little bit.
All right.
And,
I wasn't expecting to hear about. That's cool.
Yeah.
But
little
when they
fucking
did
crap
that,
before.
they've got a certain group of people that submit articles in, and Cody's got to read through them and decide what's going to go on the site and edit, et cetera, et cetera. And when he said he did that, there was a part of him that was like, I'm not sure if we need to keep doing this. But another part of him was like, these people are wanting to come through us to use our site to direct the information. So I took it upon myself to tell you all the same thing. People, if they want to hear our stuff, whether it be reading it or watching it or listening to it, I don't mind if it comes up there. Just give it to me and I'll make it pretty and put it up there.
Package it.
Give me a YouTube link. I can make a WordPress post with that. Give me a Twitch channel, which we have. I can put a live link to that on the website, and Tony knows how to do that as well.
We have a YouTube channel now as well.
We do have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/NDTEF. Going to look a bit more into that too, because Google's new gaming. It's YouTube Gaming.
That's actually kind of one of the...
Yeah, it's YouTube's competitor to Twitch, and I'm very intrigued by that. But I can tell you that our guys that are primarily going to do streaming are primarily going to use Twitch.
That's fine.
And that's fine. I don't really
Google's
care what
not
we
going to
use.
be upset.
No, they're not. Amazon will be happy though, because they own Twitch. But good job.
Hey, Ride Lands.
I look forward to seeing new content, and I look forward to teaching more of you how to post content on the WordPress site. It's not that complicated. For some that know a little bit of basic HTML, you can make it look really pretty. For those who have no idea even what HTML stands for, there's a very pretty text editor that you can put in links and everything to. So,
Hot tamale.
Hot tamale.
Hot
yeah.
tamale.
HTML.
Hypertext markup language.
Hot tamale.
Now we all know.
More fun.
Yeah, doesn't mean you understand it.
Nope.
But that's cool. So that's the next big step. I'm looking forward to someone saying, "Hey, I got a new post." Cool. 5 minutes later, new post. Instead of I've got a new podcast. 3.5 hours later, oh my God, put it up there.
Yeah. Yep.
Bonnie.
Bonnie.
Wow, that was kind of creepy. Stop doing that.
That reminds me
Exactly.
of a time.
In the haunted house.
Yes.
Anyway, that's a different story
Yeah,
for a
I was
different
gonna say,
time.
Wow.
I'm definitely looking forward to being a part of the discussion. There's nothing more painful than being in the room while a podcast is being recorded and having an opinion and not being able to say said opinion. Like, several times I have wanted to just wrench the mic away from somebody.
Bonnie's going to make the Established Facts the side project where all the comments that are said on the side, no, you need to blah, 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 blah,
Yeah,
blah, and just
right.
be yelling for an hour.
She's gonna have her own commentary
was
track
Bonnie,
underneath
alright.
it.
Right. She'll riff track the Established Facts.
awesome. Please do that.
So,
Oh my!
starting
That's what
episode
we're going to do.
We need to do
Yes.
a science fiction theater
MST3K.
3000, of the Established Facts.
Look.
And just all of the people that want to comment on the crap that we